The NASCAR Cup Series is now currently in the round of 12 of the playoffs, and with it means that we're going to be cutting down in the next 3 races from 12 to 8. So today what I want to do is preview the round of 12 by looking at all 12 drivers, how they've done at corresponding tracks to the ones we have in the next 3 races, as well as some trends about the round of 12 to see if we can gauge who's going to be going forward and whose season is effectively ending. So now let's get right into it. Starting off, we have the number 1 seed at the moment, Chase Elliott, who is over the cut line by 31 points. So far this season, Elliott has seemed like the big championship favorite, the guy who everyone is going to have to chase in these last 7 races. And really, a lot of the numbers in this round back this up. When you look at comparable super speedways, the 1 Talladega race and 2 Daytona races, Elliott does have 2 top 10s, and his 15.3 average in these races is 3rd among the remaining 12 drivers. And the road courses coming up, while he hasn't got a win, he is by far the best road course driver left in the playoffs this year with a 6.8 average. And when you look at comparable tracks to this, like the Indy road course, while he didn't finish great, he ran up front. He ran up front for a fast road course like this at Watkins Glen, and he got a 2nd at Road America. So these 2 races is really where I think he's going to get the bulk of his points. Where I worry about him is with the 1.5 miles. Yes, he has got 1 top 10 at the 1.5 mile tracks compared to Texas this year, but his 20th place average finish is 10th among the remaining 12 drivers. While he finished 7th at Texas last year, that's no guarantee to the fact that he could absolutely lay an egg at Texas this year. So that's where I really worry about Elliott. And he didn't start the playoffs too well either. He scored 80 points in the first round, which is tied for 7th of these 12 drivers, only getting 1 top 5 in that 3-race span. So things are going to need to be cleaned up if Elliott is going to advance to the round of 8. Next up is Joey Logano, who's 16 over. Logano has actually kind of struggled at anything that compares to this round so far this year. He has a 17th average at the 1.5 miles, never finishing above 14th at a comparable race, 7th among playoff drivers left, a 22nd place average at the super speedways with a best finish of 12th so far this year, 5th among playoff drivers. And when you look at the road courses, he has been a little bit better, but he's still 9th with his average finish of them. And his finishes last year at Texas and as well as earlier this year at Talladega were not inspiring either, as they were in the 30s. At the Roval last year, he did get a 7th, and he has run well there before, but to put all your eggs in that basket is really worrying. I worry about him at the 1.5 miles at Texas and at the super speedway, and honestly, I'm not very inspired by his road course performance either. And in the last round, well, he scored less than Elliott with 75 points, which is 9th among playoff drivers. And just like Elliott, he only got 1 top 5. So I'm not too confident on Logano going into the next round compared to years past. In 3rd is Ross Chastain plus 11. Now, Chastain has had a bit of an up and down season, much like his career, and when he hits, he really hits, but when he misses, he really misses. At the 1.5 miles, he has an 8th place average at comparable races this year, which is 4th among the remaining drivers. At the super speedways, while he hasn't had a great average, he won at Talladega earlier this year, which cannot be overlooked or ignored. And at the road courses, he won at Coda, and he's had a few more top 5s and top 10s in that span. His 12th place average at the road courses this year is 3rd among the playoff drivers. And you can look at last year as a comparison, but comparing Trackhouse this year to Ganassi last year isn't fair to Ross Chastain's prospects. Though in the last round, he did get 2 top 10s, meaning that while he's not getting top 5 speed, he is getting good enough speed to advance. He scored 96 points in the first round, which is 5th among the playoff drivers. So Chastain, while not putting up flashy numbers, might be somebody to watch even so. Kyle Larson is plus 10 above the cut line, at 4th. And let's be real, with Kyle Larson, we are all worrying about him at the super speedways. He finished 32nd, 4th, and 37th this year, and that 4th place finish is a huge anomaly compared to anything in years past. This was the same race last year that nearly eliminated him from the playoffs, even with a huge cushion. So being plus 10 is no guarantee whatsoever that he makes it. He has an average of 24th so far at these tracks, and let's be real, like I said, the Talladega race is a huge anomaly, so I'm betting he could crash out more than actually finish in the top 20. At the mile and a half, though, he's the best driver left with a 5.3 average, and he has 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s in the comparable 4 races. At the road courses, he's been up and down, but he won the last one at the Glen, and he won last year at the Roval as well as at Texas. In the first round, he scored 98 points, which is 4th among playoff drivers, so I'm actually really confident about Kyle Larson making it past these 3 races. Now, somebody who I'm oddly confident about as well is William Byron. Even though he's plus 6 over the cut line, he scored 124 points in the last round, 2nd among the playoff drivers, and he got a top 10 in every race. And that's really, really good for him, and I think it could continue at the mile and a half of Texas, as in the comparable races, he does have a pretty good average finish, finishing 14.8 and 6th among playoff drivers, and he finished 2nd at Texas last year as well. And at the super speedways, it's not exactly inspiring, but at the same time, he's in a Hendrick car, so he could run pretty well there, and he has competed for wins there in the past. The road courses are where I'm really questioning him. Yes, he hasn't finished too awful there, but in general, it hasn't been great either. His 11th at the Roval last year, though, is something that I think will be just enough, if he's able to repeat it, to get him on to the next round. So Byron, once again, is a borderline driver, though a surprising one at that. Now, Denny Hamlin is next as one of the drivers tied for plus 4 over the cut line. And Hamlin's another one who I'm honestly pretty excited about looking at this round. He won the 600 and has had top 5s in the last 3 comparable mile and a halves, giving him a 9.8 average finish on the season. The super speedways he's had trouble, but this is Denny Hamlin we're talking about, one of the greatest super speedway drivers in NASCAR history. Where I worry most for him as well is with the road courses, as he hasn't had a better finish than 14th this season, averages 20th on the year, and while the Roval he finished 5th last year on, it is a different car, and chaos has been reigning supreme. He's going to need to get as many points as possible at Texas and at Talladega if he wants to advance to the next round. Though, he does have momentum on his side with 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s in the 3 playoff races thus far. Tied with Hamlin is Christopher Bell at plus 4. Now, Bell is somebody who I'm very high on. He still is my championship pick this year, which should tell you what I think. At the mile and a half so far, 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, a 5.8 average, and 2nd among playoff drivers. He finished 3rd at Texas last year. This race should be huge in padding a buffer for him. And he's going to need it, because at the super speedways this year, he's been atrocious with a 31st place average finish, which is easily last among playoff drivers. Though his best super speedway race of the year that's comparable is Talladega, but he did finish 22nd. At the road courses, he's been hit or miss, but he's been pretty fast for the most part. And at the Roval last year, he finished 8th. So I would say that this could be a race you could chalk up to at least being a top 10 run. And so far, with the momentum he has of scoring 149 points, most among playoff drivers, he's the only driver thus far who scored a top 5 in every playoff race. The last driver that's currently in is Ryan Blaney at plus 4. And Blaney, while having a solid season, I'm not too confident about looking at this round. Yeah, he won the All-Star race at Texas, but there's a reason I haven't compared anyone to their All-Star race performance this year. It's because it's incomparable in my opinion. At the mile and a half, you can compare this race to. He has 1 top 10 and a 21.5 average finish, which is 2nd to last among the playoff drivers. At the super speedways, he has 1 top 5, but that's all the way back at the Daytona 500. and he's finished kind of mediocre since then, though his average of 10th is pretty good among playoff drivers. At the road courses, he's been getting progressively worse as the year goes on, which worries me. Now, at his most previous races at all three tracks, his lowest finish is an 11th at Talladega, so that's something to look at. Though, in the last round, he scored 80 points, which is tied for 7th among playoff drivers left, and only had one top 10. So Blaney is another very borderline driver. Now, the first guy out so far is Chase Briscoe, 4 below. And Briscoe is probably not going to make the next round, let's be completely honest. He has no top 10s in the first 3 races, 10th in points scored among playoff drivers. He has no finish better than 13th at the road courses this year, and easily has the worst average finish at them. His last good finish at a super speedway that's comparable to Talladega came at the Daytona 500 with 3rd, and he has only one top 10 with the 1.5 miles. Overall, it just doesn't look good for Briscoe. He's been on a downward trend since the start of the year, and maybe he pulls a Bowman Byron style turnaround, but there's nothing really saying that he can do that. Speaking of Alex Bowman, he's somebody who's actually very good for this next round, even if he is starting 6 points in the hole. At the 1.5 miles that you can compare to Texas, he scored a top 10 in every race, has a 6th place average, 3rd among playoff drivers, and he won all the way back at Las Vegas. At super speedways, he's actually had a solid year and has been able to survive most of the carnage. And at the road courses, he, only has had one top 5, but he hasn't been awful. Only one finish below 16th on the year. And at the Roval last year, he finished 10th, and he finishes pretty well at the Roval in general as is. While scoring 89 points in the first round, it doesn't show just how fast he was running, and Bowman really could be a threat to make the round of 8 this year. Now tied with Bowman at -6 is that of Daniel Suárez. Suárez this year at the 1.5 miles has been atrocious. He is the worst of the remaining 12 drivers at these type of races. At the super speedways, he hasn't finished above 18th at comparable races to this either. Where he is going to need to get his work done is the road courses, where he has a win and 3 top 5 so far, and he has the 4th best average of the remaining drivers. He hasn't started the playoffs well, only 67 points, which is second to last among the remaining drivers, though he does have at least that one top 10. Now, with the final playoff driver we talk about is the one who's at the caboose of the current grid, -7, and that's Austin Cindric. At the 1.5 miles this year, Cindric has not got a top 10 yet, and he has a 19th place average right now. And going into Texas as well as the Roval, it's going to be his first time on those courses. At the super speedways that you can compare, he got a win in the Daytona 500 and a 3rd at Daytona this past August, but a 21st at Talladega isn't very good either. He does have the best average finish of those drivers though, so it is something that if he's going to get a win or get a huge chunk of points, it has to be there. Or it has to be at the road courses. So far this year, outside of a 13th at Watkins Glen, Cindric has finished 8th, 5th, 7th, and 2nd with a 7th place average, second among the playoff drivers left. He's going to need to use this race as well as Talladega to get these giant chunks of points, because in the last round with the momentum he has, he's not going in very well. He only got 63 points in the first round, which is the last among the playoff drivers, and he failed to score a top 10 in that span. Now, before we end out today, I'm going to show you some playoff trends and notes that have been going on since 2017 under this format, as well as my picks to get eliminated this round. Now, here's a few things you should know. In the round of 12, the first, second, and fifth seeds entering this round have never been eliminated. So, good news for all of you Elliott, Logano, and Byron fans. Entering the round of 12 as well, no seeds have been eliminated more than the 8th, 11th, and 12th seeds. 4 out of 5 seasons, those drivers have been out of the round of 8. So not good news for Blaney, Suárez, and Cindric fans. The highest above the cut line to ever be eliminated was plus 26 with Kyle Larson in 2017. Currently, only Chase Elliott is above this. The lowest below the cut line to ever make it to the round of 8 is minus 12, which means every driver is within this threshold. Now, no 5th seed or higher has been eliminated since 2018. No one 6th or higher has been an issue since 2019. 2021 was the only time ever the 7th seed was eliminated from the round of 12, and 2019 is the only time the 6th seed was ever eliminated. And the same goes for the 4th seed in 2018 and the 3rd seed in 2017. Other than 2019 and 2020, each year, 2 above the cut line have been eliminated. 2 or more below the cut line are always eliminated in the round of 12. So with that, what's my prediction? Well, I think Blaney, Briscoe, Suárez, and Cindric are all out this round. But that's just what I think. Now I want to hear what you think. So let me know who you think gets eliminated in this round in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.